I wrote my life in 4 stages. So stage number 1 would be just growing up, my faith during that time, and how God has been working during that time. So I always like to say, or I always used to say that growing up I had a very good relationship with God. But the more I reflect about it, I'm like, but actually it was I think this is very common with a lot of people, especially like teenagers, is that, at least for me, my relationship with God, I felt like it was very good because I was constantly, like talking with God, praying, things like that. I went to Sunday service, but through time I realized actually it was a very selfish relationship with God. Like it was very one-sided. Maybe selfish is a very negative word to use, but it was very one-sided in terms of, I was always like, okay, God will help me, like that's it. And kind of, I was never giving back. I was never really, maybe it looked like I was investing back, but to me, if I look deep down, I was always kind of asking God for stuff, and I was always waiting for Him to provide. When it came to kind of giving back or investing back, I never really took any action, or I never did it really actively. Yeah, when it came to the community, maybe I did some stuff, or like simple things, but I was always kind of very scared, or I always thought that I was not capable of giving back. I always thought just this, basic second gen, I cannot really, feel like I cannot really do much. I grew up with my parents being national leaders and us being very active in the community, but always I was just kind of there, never really took so much action. But yeah, at least I always felt like, okay, or maybe I would compare myself to other second gens and I'd be like, but at least, I have a good relationship with God, or like, I believe in true parents and I don't struggle with true parents or something like that. So I was always kind of trying to tell myself, I'm satisfied with where I am in life. But yeah, eventually, because I wasn't really taking any responsibility for my faith, or wasn't really like investing so much, I started noticing that once I started getting friends in school, or particularly like middle school time, maybe like also high school time, I noticed I was living this is a very basic term, a very double life. For a second gen, it's a very basic term, but so where I would go to workshops, I would go to Sunday services, I would just do everything with the community, and I would have this certain persona there, certain character, I would portray myself very much, like this pure little second gen, but then outside in school, people wouldn't even know that I'm religious, or people wouldn't even know that, I have this whole other side of me, and there was a lot of guilt accumulating from that. I always felt quite bad for it, but I was like, what am I supposed to do, it's not like, I lacked a lot of confidence in my faith, so I never put in the effort to try to tell other people, or to, act upon this guilt or fix this. So I was just kind of living this way, and every time, Uncle Brian's not here, he just left, but every time he sees me, he's very like, such a happy person, And even like when we were with guests, last time I was giving an introduction to a guest, and Uncle Brian stopped by, and he told the guest she's such a happy person, like you should stick around her, and like this. And I really appreciate it actually every time he says this, because like a few years back, like if you knew me back then, I was actually quite opposite. I was very, not negative, maybe pessimistic about life. I always thought like bad things were happening to me. I always thought like, I was always trying to analyze every small problem in my life, and I made it a lot bigger than it was supposed to be. And I noticed it was, or like later reflecting on it, it was usually because I never tried to kind of bring it to God, or I never tried to reach out to family or community or anybody. I was just kind of always like, okay, let me try to fix this. But the problem was not even as big as I made it seem. So yeah, this was the type of person I was. And then I was kind of living like this for a few years, I would say, up until like Corona time. And then, in 2022, I had a very deep experience, or it's where my life I hit quite a low point. I had 2 of my friends from high school, the same friend group. They ended up passing away a month from each other. And both of these people were very close to me, and it was quite a big shock to me and to my friend group and to my class. And I yeah, it was very confusing to deal with grief all of a sudden. It was very sudden also, and nobody really knew how to go about it, how to deal with it. And when it happened at the time, I tried to turn to God, but because I did value my relationship with God still, even though it's not super deep, I still valued my relationship with God so much that I told God at the time, like, I know this is not you, I know that it's not your fault, like, I know it just happened because it happened, and I don't want to feel any negative emotions towards you, I don't want to blame you, so let me, like, give me a little bit of time, I'll take a small break, like, I'll keep a bit of distance, and I swear, like, I promise I'll come back, but just give me a little bit of time. I don't want to blame this, like, I don't want to put it on you. So I distanced myself from God for some time, a few months, and I distanced myself from my family, from my community, just because, I mean, I had a good, not a good reason to, but it was understandable, because going through grief at the age of 18, it's not easy, it's not simple, it's really, it was a very brain-altering experience, but and then for a few months it's quite blurry, I don't actually remember much, but I kind of, you could say, lost myself in a way. Since I was not really connecting to anybody, I was not connecting to God, I didn't really know how to go about, mentally, I was never, like, I don't know, like, I never hit depression or anything, which I'm quite grateful for, but just was very confusing, like, how am I supposed to go about my life? It felt like every day for a whole, like, few months felt like everything stopped. Felt like I was in this state of shock, and I didn't really know how to go about it. And there was also at the same time a lot of guilt, once again, that was accumulating from that, because I kept making excuses to my family as to where I was, what I was doing. I wasn't reaching out. I was making excuses why I was not reaching out. I was making excuses for why I don't want to go to Sunday services or to different activities by the community or things like that. So I'm very grateful to my family for the way they reacted during that time, because they gave me a lot of space. And but once again, I felt very bad that I didn't know how to deal with it. And then kind of the turning point was a few months later. During summer, my mom ended up asking me, like, just this one thing, please do this one thing for me. And she said, there's a workshop happening in Austria, in Latvia. So I just, like, it's just 5 days. I really just want you to, like, can you just please go? It probably will be good for you. And I said, you know what, I have good experiences from workshops, and maybe now I'm already at a point where maybe it would be good for me to kind of start reconnecting back. And so I went to this workshop, and the workshop, like, the organizers, it was their first time organizing a workshop. So it was, definitely out of all the workshops I've been to, it was the worst one. Not in a sense like it was bad, but it was just comparing to other ones, it was just, not planned so well. But there was an activity we did, and I feel like every workshop has this for second gen, but there's always a day or like an evening dedicated to, like, connecting with God, or some kind of, like, prayer evening or something like that. And that workshop, they decided we're gonna write letters to God. And I was like, oh my God, okay, let's see how this goes. And I remember I sat down, I got my piece of paper, I sat down in the corner of the big hall in Gatlins, if anybody has ever been. And I was just kind of staring at that paper, and I was like, I haven't talked to God in a few months, probably at that point it's been like 4 months or something, like, I don't know what to say. And then after about like 15, 20 minutes, I was like, okay, like, I have to do something. So I might as well just start. And I start writing. And I was really honest. I said, okay, to be really honest, I don't know what to say. And I feel like I don't have much to say to you, because I still felt like I was in this state of, okay, I'm still on this break. I still felt like I was not at a point or, like, ready to reconnect back. And then I continued, but I was like, okay, but if I have to say something, then I started asking questions. I was like, okay, but then I know it was not you, but then why? Why did it have to happen? Why was it these two specific people? Why was it now? Like, why? It's just so many questions. And eventually, somehow, when I was writing it, it turned into, like, me starting to apologize. And I started apologizing, like, like, I'm sorry for, distancing myself. I know I should have come to you, but I didn't know how to. I'm sorry for distancing, pushing away my family, the community, and I just like, everything started coming out. I started crying really hard because I just felt so bad. All the guilt kind of started pouring out. And I wrote like probably like 2 pages of just like apologies. And I had this experience where like all of a sudden I felt this, it's hard to describe it, but it was this sudden like whoosh like over my body, where all I could hear, like kind of my mind completely silenced, and all I could hear or feel was God telling me like, I don't care. Like, I don't care. Everything that you're apologizing for, I don't care, because the only thing that matters to me is the fact that you reached out, and the fact that you took the step to, to say all these things, and to, like, I've been here this whole time waiting for you to do that, and the fact that you did it now, finally, after, so long, this is the only thing I care. And I'm just so grateful that you did that. And I felt like it's hard to describe, maybe, but it was maybe the first time in my life, it was, at the age of, 18, where I felt really deeply like, this is, like, God really kind of loves me, I mean, not kind of, but God really loves me, and the only thing He cares is that I'm here, and that I keep reaching out, and I keep investing in my relationship with God. And this is the only, I felt it really strongly. And after this experience, of course, it still took me about a year to fully come back, reconnect, get my relationship to where at least it used to. It took a while, and it was not easy, but the fact that at least at the back of my head, I could always remember this. I could always come back to this experience knowing that, okay, God doesn't care how much time I need, as long as I keep on trying. And this was really, it really helps me, even now, up to this day, it really, really helps me whenever I go through a period of maybe like lacking connection or something. And but of course, it was still, the year after was my last year of high school, so ages 18 to 19. And because I still, of course, it wasn't gonna, like, my mental state wasn't gonna fix itself, I was still really struggling when it came to just dealing with grief in general. So my grades started going really down, and I started like really struggling, especially when it came to school, and still struggling when it came to relationships with family and community. And that year I was able to get myself into therapy, and I was able to kind of find some help somehow, started reconnecting with my family. But still, when it came to school, it was not enough, sadly, which felt like a really big, I put in so much effort, but it was not enough. And I didn't end up making it to my finals, at least the spring, spring term of my finals. And so I was not able to start university the next year. So I already knew, okay, I'm gonna have to take a gap year. What do I do? And I really thought, oh my God, my life is falling apart. Oh my God, I put in so much effort to come all the way. This past year has been literal hell. I put in so much effort, and what the heck am I supposed to do? But then somehow, my sister did Empower the year before me, while it was still a 3-month program. And for some reason, I always knew SDF was a thing. I always admired people that went to SDF. So it kind of, after some time, it kind of naturally became very obvious that that was kind of the only decision I had. So I was like, okay, I don't know what exactly my purpose is for going, but I guess I'm going to Empower. And Empower itself is a very, very long story, so I'm not gonna say this time, but my first year was very much rebuilding, or upgrading my relationship with God. And then my second year being a team leader was very much about learning how to work together with God for other people. And I did write three main lessons I learned from Empower. So number one, and I think these are all after my second year. So through my second year I learned these, or I realized them on a deeper level. So number one was that true parents were right, and living for the sake of others is one of the most effective ways to feel God and to build your relationship with God. Number two was that being scared but still trusting God and doing it is one of the highest form of faith possible. And this one really helped me when I was really struggling with fundraising, especially, and to leading fundraising. It was very scary, but this was kind of repeating this all the time was what really got me through. And then the last one was having confidence in God has no meaning if you have no confidence in yourself. And God cannot work through you if you can say like, oh, it's okay, God can take care of it, God can take care of it, but if you don't believe that you can do it yourself, then like it kind of eliminates whatever God can do. So yes. And then the last kind of after Empower, the last stage of my life, my current stage, is after I finished Empower, I really wanted to stay involved. I really, especially on a European level when it comes to second generation, I really felt this strong kind of calling that I want to involve myself in that. But I really was not sure how. I knew there was a youth department opening up, and I knew like Empower was still going on, so I was just kind of like, what can I do? And I was really grateful. I was very lucky to get a part-time job at Empower, so I was still supporting in that way. But yeah, I always, because also back in my community, we're a very small community, and there's a big lack of second gen and everything, so it's hard to start up things. For example, like here, it's very hard to do something like that. But I always had this like kind of pressure of like, I should do something more, either community or go somewhere, help out, or I was thinking, even to join like American missionaries that came. I was thinking to join that for a month or something. And but then I somehow, Uncle Dale ended up at the right time, contacting me if I would be willing to come here. So immediately it felt very right. I had no doubts about it. So I said, yeah, sure. I mean, sounds great. Why not? That's how I ended up here. But yeah, there's something that Uncle Dale said one time, I don't know, it was a few weeks back, that kind of changed my perspective of it. But he said that pressure is a privilege. And the fact that you have the resources and the ability for God to ask you to give is a privilege. And it kind of, shaped a little bit of how I see it now. Like, because I always thought, like, I feel like I want to do something else, but I feel like, maybe I'm not capable enough, or I don't know, like, if I can, am I the right one, or I don't know how to go about it. But now, this kind of helped me understand that a bit more, the fact that I even have this feeling of, I want to give, but okay, maybe I don't know how. It means actually that it's a, how do you say it? It's a privilege. That God is asking me, can you give even at least a little bit that you can? He sees it as valuable, so can you at least offer that in some way? So, and maybe just to show some appreciation to you guys. Since it was not long, I was supposed to stay longer, but then the team was doing so good that, and my life is going in a different direction than the team is. So, but maybe if I can say something about this community, I've done mission in quite a few communities now, or a few, and of course I know my community. And something about this community, it's the most like homey community I've been to. It's the most like cozy or comfortable, very like family type of community.
Oh, gee.
Like I feel like you guys sometimes don't like see it, or it's hard to. It's easy since you guys have been living here for so long. But coming from as an outsider coming into this community was definitely very welcoming. Felt very comfortable in this community. So and also like, as a person that comes from a small community where it's hard to do things because there's such a big lack of people, like coming here, I was like, wow, like you guys have kind of everything that we don't have in our community, you guys have it. And it's like, there's so much that can be done because you guys have the people, you have the place, you have the resources. So maybe just to think about that and to appreciate that and to support the missionaries along the way. So that's it. That is my testimony. Thank you so much.